to my channel. As you gathered from the title of this video, this is going to be baby's 2 months update. I can't believe he's 2 months old already. And I am going to talk all about breastfeeding, my journey, my tips, and my must-haves. So if you want to just check that bit out, I'll leave the time codes down below. I'm kind of just doing these baby updates for myself, so just scroll through if you want to check out the breastfeeding. But baby's update, I thought I'd have the man himself in this video. I love him so much. So yes, he is 2 months old already. He currently weighs 5.6 kgs, which is huge. He was born at 3.4, so he's put on a big amount. And he is 62 centimeters tall, which is amazing. He's growing so well. Oh, yes you are. You're a big boy. So he is still wearing size 0 to 3 clothing, and we are actually full-time using cloth diapers on him now, which is great. It's going very well. I'm very happy with the little routine that we've got together. So that's a bit of an update with his clothing. And what else has changed from his 1 month update? He's cooing a lot more. He's doing a lot of ahs, a lot of ohs. Hey baby, ah. Oh, he's a bit sleepy right now. He's just had a feed, but he's also like doing silent laughs, which are really cute. So he'll just look at you and be like, nothing's coming out, but it's almost like he's wanting to laugh, and he smiles at us all the time. It's adorable. I guess the biggest change that he's had this month is he's so alert. Like, he'll just look at you for a couple minutes with his big open eyes, and he'll like literally just stare at you and lock his eyes into your eyes, and that's just how you know that he's a lot more alert. And the biggest thing that we've been working on this month with him is fixing his colic and reflux. So he has both colic and sinus reflux, which is horrible for a baby, a newborn, and it's horrible as a mum as well, because you see your baby in pain and there's not much you can do. So we've been trying to work on that. We've been going to see GPs, osteopath, we've got him medicine, we're working on different breastfeeding techniques and all that. So it's going well so far. I'm not going to say it's 100% amazing. The other biggest thing that we have been working with him is his sleep. So I know that in my 1 month update I was saying that he was doing like 3 to 4 hours during the night. That went downhill like 3 weeks ago. It got really bad. Oh no! He was doing 1 hour sleeps. So he was waking up, feeding, we were putting him back down, and it took a whole hour, and then he would sleep for an hour, and then he'd be back up, and that was for the whole night. And I'm not even kidding, during the day he was probably sleeping all up, and they were like power naps, all up he was probably sleeping 2 hours. Nowhere near enough for a newborn. So we were really struggling with sleep. It was getting very difficult for both Jamie and I, and we've been working really hard on fixing his sleep, trying to get a little bit of a routine happening. Really happy at how we're doing. I feel like we've worked really hard on his sleep, and he's so much better. He's such a happier baby. But it's also because we've been dealing with his reflux and his colic. So obviously that's why he wasn't sleeping really well. It's because he was in pain, which is fair enough. So he's a happy baby now, and we are happy parents. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be doing a video on sleep, because it's almost like a passion of mine now. Like, I'm obsessed with his sleep and getting him to sleep. That's going to be coming out soon. I'm just waiting until I really feel like I've nailed all my tips and my routine. Keep an eye out for that one. But that's kind of him in a nutshell, his 2 months update. He is just absolutely gorgeous. He brings so much joy into our life. Hello. Hi. He loves looking at himself in the camera. Look, who's that handsome little boy? That's you. It's you. Can you say, goodbye everyone, I'm going to go for a nap and Mummy's going to talk about breastfeeding. Okay, bye. Alright, I've just put Charlie down to sleep because I really wanted to sit down and probably talk to you guys about breastfeeding. Breastfeeding, let's just start off by saying it's not as easy as you would think. You don't just put your baby in front of your boob and it works perfectly fine. I mean, for some women it probably does, and well done, you guys have done something right. But for me, that wasn't the case. So firstly, what I want to talk to you guys is my journey on breastfeeding. I've been pretty lucky to have had a good experience so far with breastfeeding. So it started off in the hospital. Baby latched on what I thought was perfectly fine. I was like, he's on the boob, he's on the nipple, great. While we were in the hospital, he was actually not latched on properly, which meant that I was getting cracked nipples, and it was very painful. If you've had cracked nipples before, you know exactly what I mean. Once I told the nurse my concerns and I was like, ouch, help, it's sore, she actually realized that he wasn't latched on properly, and we were able to fix that before I walked out of the hospital. Once you have cracked nipples, they do heal pretty fast, so don't worry about that too much. So I went home and I was happy, he was latching, everything was going well, and I think it was like maybe day 6 or day 7 or something that we were home, and it was just a random day. He just refused to latch, and as a first time mum, I was freaking out because he was going hours without eating. I was afraid he was getting dehydrated, he was sleeping a lot, and I remember texting my midwife going, help, what do I do? He's just refusing to latch. So she told me to go get a pump, just quickly get some out of my boobs. Also, my boobs were so full. Obviously, they hadn't had any milk come out, so they were really full. They were really, really sore. And so I just expressed some milk and gave him some milk in the bottle, and he took that very easily and just started drinking straight away. I remember feeling quite sad at the time, and I was so overwhelmed and I was really stressed out, and I just thought, I've done something wrong. I can't feed my baby. How am I failing at the one thing that I should be doing? But it's really important that if something like that happens to you, that you don't get overwhelmed and you don't blame yourself, because breastfeeding is not for everyone. It's not everyone's path, and not everyone is supposed to be able to do it. However, I did decide to keep trying, and I reached out to my midwife and she taught me different latching positions, different feeding positions. We tried, we kept trying. And what I was doing was breastfeeding during the day, and I was giving him bottle during the night. Obviously, my main concern was that he was getting fed and that he was putting weight on, which he was. The midwife was coming regularly, she was checking his weight, and she was happy with how much he was growing. So she just said, keep trying, keep going at it, and then eventually it's just going to be natural and he's going to latch on every time. And that's exactly what has happened. So now we are exclusively breastfeeding. We've removed the bottle. It's easy now. He just latches on really, really easily. So yeah, that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. So yeah, now I'm going to go straight into some tips that I have for breastfeeding. So the first tip that I feel like is very important is wait until your milk comes before you go out and buy anything. I recommend this because you don't want to buy a specific pump or specific bottles without knowing whether you're going to have milk and whether your baby's going to need a bottle. You might never need a pump. It's just because everyone's different. So for example, I just had a small hand pump and that worked perfectly fine for me. It was really cheap, but if I had bought the pump beforehand and before I knew, I probably would have bought something like an electric pump, because that is the most common one. It's what people use. It's what you get recommended. It's easier. And then I would have spent a couple of $100s on something that I probably didn't need. But yeah, that's just a little tip that I have. The second tip that I have is while you're at the hospital and you've given birth, make sure that you ask the midwife there or the nurse or whoever is around to look and see that your baby is latching on correctly. Don't be embarrassed. I know I personally wasn't. I mean, you've just given birth. It's pretty hard to be embarrassed after that. But just in case, make sure that you do ask, and they really need to look at your boob and make sure that the baby's mouth is on correctly, because it's hard to know as a first time mum. Like, it feels like he's latched on, but actually might not be correct. My third tip, which I feel like I talk about this in every video, but it's so important, stay hydrated while you're breastfeeding. Stay hydrated, keep a good diet. Remember that whatever you're putting in your body is going to help produce milk. So it's so important to keep your water intake, because that's what you need to produce milk. My next tip is trying different positions with breastfeeding. So a couple of good positions that I've been recommended is the lying down position. I have quite fast leg down, and so my midwife recommended that I lie all the way back and the baby is on top of me. Therefore, my milk's not going to spray into his mouth, and it's going to take more power and more work for him to get the milk out. This will also prevent a lot of wind getting trapped in his stomach. And also another position is being straight up and having him straight up. That will also prevent wind from getting trapped. So just find that perfect position that works for you guys. Another tip that I have is make sure that you give both sides to your baby. Make sure that you remember which side he's fed on. So a good tip that I did at the start when he was only taking one boob per feed is that I would put a hair tie around my wrist of the side that he ate. Therefore, I knew that the next time he had to take the boob where there was no hair tie. And I say this because if you only ever give him the one side, your body is going to keep producing milk on that one boob, and you're going to have different sized boobs, and that is something that no one will ever tell you, but it's a thing. Personally, I don't have it, but I know that it can happen. And then my last tip that I have is to make sure that you keep calm and stay positive. I know that when I got really overwhelmed and really stressed out because baby wasn't latching, he could sense it. And that's why he was getting stressed out and he couldn't latch. It just wasn't working because I was freaking out. And as soon as I calmed down and I relaxed, it worked a lot better. Alright, so that is a couple of tips that I have for you guys. I hope they do help. I hope that you have a really good breastfeeding journey. But now I want to talk to you about my must-haves for breastfeeding. There are so many things out there, and I just want to say that what I recommend is just what worked for me. I will link everything down below that I am recommending, but my biggest must-have is this Haaka Ladybug. I think this is the best thing created for breastfeeding personally. So they have two sizes. They've got a small one and a big one. I got the small one because I can just put this in my bra wherever I am and it doesn't look like this huge thing is coming out and catching my milk. You do get that down on your boob when your baby is feeding on the other side, so if you don't want to get your bra soaking wet or your t-shirt soaking wet, then I definitely recommend getting this. My second must-have is getting reusable breast pads. If you're anything like me, you're going to go through a whole bunch of reusable breast pads, and you're going to need a bunch everywhere, in your car, in your purse, in your diaper bag, wherever you are, because personally I don't like having one in my bra when it's wet. I like to change it. And the perk of getting a reusable one is that obviously you can just wash it and use it again, but it's also a lot comfier on your nipples. Hard to explain until you actually experience it. The next recommendation that I have if you're going to be introducing a bottle to your baby is using an anti-colic or anti-reflux bottle, and I highly recommend the Dr. Borwns one. So how it works is that it's got this bit in the middle, which is different to every other bottle, and it means that your baby is going to have to suck to get the milk out. But it also does mean that if you are doing both bottle and boob, that they're not going to get lazy and only want the bottle, because if the milk is just flowing into their mouth, then they might completely refuse the boob because they have to physically suck it out. So that is really good, and it also helps prevent the baby getting too much gas in their stomach. It doesn't 100% prevent your baby from getting colic, but it does help, and anything that helps is amazing. So the pump that I got that I wanted to show you guys is this hand pump, and honestly I recommend this for someone who is just exclusively breastfeeding, and I recommend this because it is cheap. I think it cost me like 40 New Zealand dollars. But I do recommend that you get some kind of pump. Sometimes your baby might sleep longer stretches throughout the night, or you might just want a bit of extra milk in your freezer to store, and you just need to pump. You just need to release that pain. You don't need to get something too fancy unless you are doing bottles full time. And now my regrets. Some of these regrets that I have will work fine for you, and if they do, then I'm really happy, but for me they didn't personally work. So my biggest regret is this Haaka pump. Very common. A lot of people use it, but personally for me, I use this to catch my leg down on the other side before I got the ladybug, and it just didn't work. I had a horrible experience with it. Even though I latched it on exactly the way that Haaka said, it just was too big. I had a very active baby, and every time he's feeding, he would kick it and then the milk would go everywhere. In the middle of the night, when you're feeding, that's the last thing you want, to have a wet bed full of milk because your baby has kicked your pump. So I just had a horrible experience with that, and that is when I then discovered the ladybug. And then a second regret that I have, which isn't a huge regret, but I thought I'd mention it. If you are trying to save money, don't buy nipple balm. I bought two different lots of nipple balm. I had a cheaper one and I had a organic nipple balm from New Zealand. It is a great nipple balm. It feels really nice on my nipples, but the reason why it's a regret is because I didn't end up using it. I had cracked nipples at the hospital. They gave me this Medela little sachets, and I'm sure your hospital will have something, and you can just grab a couple of extras before you left. That's literally what I did. I was like, hey, can I just have a couple of extras? Brought them home and I used those, and then my cracked nipples were gone. And then once your baby latches normally and properly, you shouldn't get cracked nipples, hopefully. And my last regret, which is something that I mentioned before, is just the breast pads that you chuck away. So these are the ones that I had. They were so cheap. They were really cheap. And they look soft, they feel soft, but once they were in my bra, and against my nipple. They were so uncomfortable. I absolutely hated having those, and every time the milk got on them, it just like went straight through. And also you're doing your part in the environment by using reusable breast pads, so don't use those. But there you have it, guys. I hope that these little tips, I hope that my must-haves and learning about my journey has helped you in some way with your breastfeeding journey. If you have any questions, then make sure that you just ask me and comment it below. I'll try my best to help you out. But if you did like this video, then please give it a thumbs up because that really supports my channel. And make sure that you subscribe because I'll be uploading a whole bunch of really good videos about sleep training, about reusable nappies, and all the good things for newborns. So don't forget to check those out. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and I'll catch you all next time. See ya!